images evoke meaning more than any spoken word can convey. From our primal beginnings, symbols have marked our lives, nearly every minute of it, in waking or in dreams. They give form to our myths and function to our day-to-day routines. Before there was the written word, there were signs. It is the ability to read them that help the traveler navigate, hunt, communicate, survive. We're much more sophisticated today, but the importance of what is seen, not heard, remains with us. I'm Bill Landry, and we explore signs this week on Heartland Tonight. The signs that fall into our view each day are as intrusive as a billboard, or as subtle as a leaf turned backward just before a storm. Most signs slip by unless you know how to read them. On Heartland Tonight, we read the signs of success and the triumphant return of a prehistoric-looking bird. A tracker deciphers the meaning of a footprint in the mud. A sign maker's faith sends him across country with a message. And a prophet dreams the birth of the nuclear age. If you look at certain calendars today, you'll see curious marks. They are, in fact, signs for farmers to go by, when to plant, when to hold. Some may call it silly or superstitious today, but there are those who swear by the practice of planting by signs.
For centuries, folks have believed that the moon affects the planting cycles on Earth. Some of the first writings on this effect appeared in England in the 16th century, but were probably in practice long before.
Believers say as the moon becomes full, it grows, and so will your crops. Astrological signs were given to the moon, and these were made to correspond to body parts, some barren, some fertile.
Believers in this strange mixture of Christianity and paganism say that even the smallest gardens can benefit from these methods. Today we'll talk to a farmer well versed in this ancient custom.
Now it's a good time to plant. Plant beans and stuff like that. They go in the thighs here. People always try to plant beans on the Good Friday. Don't put nothing out when the sun's in the boughs. You do, most times it rots.
I cannot question whether or not the signs work. Personally, I feel that if it works for an individual, use it. I have no way of disproving that signs work, neither do I have any research information to prove it.
Well, we always planted our corn on the old moon, and seen right on down here now, but here's here's the last quarter right there, that's starting on the old moon. And here's a new moon again down here on this 19th. And the new of the moon, you see, it ain't like the older moon. You plant stuff on the new of the moon, and I reckon it grows so fast it don't take time much to make good roots like you do in planting on the older moon. Now, there's no man used to live around, Jerry Brooks lived around here, and I don't know how many times I said, Jerry, when did you plant that corn? I don't know, he says. I'll never. I said, don't you go by the signs? I said, you plant that corn, I says, in the signs. I says, on over the moon, I says, he won't grow up sky high. Best time to prune trees is signs is new of the moon. See the sap done. I used to graft a whole lot. That's when I used to graft. And another thing, when covering a building, we'd always cover a building when the sign is on the moon, on account of boards lay down. And if you covered the building on the new of the moon, they'd turn up. There's something to them signs. I know. I've seen it tried and tried it myself the other way.
He is a good farmer. His methods work, but they may work if he did not plant with the signs. You see, I have no way of knowing.
Well, I believe that on the account it's in the Bible. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under the heavens. a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted.
What if you see signs no one else sees? People may wonder about you. That's what happened to a man named John Hendricks. His vision's next on Heartland Tonight. Last winter in Cades Cove, Chris Lukash, wildlife biologist with the Red Wolf Project, showed some tracks in the snow. From them, we could tell what animals had passed through.
Well, heck, Bill, here's a set of turkey tracks crossing our trail. Maybe that's what the bobcat was after, yeah? That's what I like about the snow. It makes it easy to go follow animals and figure out what they've been doing.
Reading the signs of animals requires a keen sense, like instinct. We hear, too, about a second sense, a feeling that gives signs of events and changes ahead. So it was with an Anderson County man named John Hendricks. He never left the hills of East Tennessee. He was born and died in the mountains he loved, but he saw places and things no one on earth would see until many years after his death. His name was John Hendricks, a man with a vision. He was a deeply religious man who loved the comfort and solitude of the woods. He kept to himself, and most people couldn't help but think that John Hendricks was a little strange. Even his wife thought he was peculiar.
She had him put away because she thought he was crazy, and they took him, put him in the county farm. And they said he dug out and told them they wasn't going to put him back in there anymore. And he told them inside of 3 months, lightning struck that thing and burned it up, and said, sure enough, it did. And Walter Garson told me, he said, he's woke me up a million night, 12 o'clock in the night praying. He said he'd make the hair rise on your head when he's praying.
Old John was praying about the mountains he found communion in. He wanted to know their destiny. He said a voice told him if he would lie on the ground for 40 days and nights, he would know their future. John Hendricks did just that.
And Miss Kester told me that she passed by him one evening. He was laying on the ground in the wintertime, and said his hair was froze to the ground.
Hendricks tossed and turned on the cold, wet ground day after day, and soon the dampness seeped into his body, down into his lungs. Tuberculosis and pain were his only companions until John Hendricks began to see his visions.
And I tell you, Bear Creek Valley someday will be filled with great buildings and factories. And they will help in winning the greatest war that ever will be. And thousands of people will be running to and fro. And there will be great noise and confusion. And the earth will shake. I've seen it. It's coming.
Most people forgot about the predictions of factories and people running around until 1942, when Bear Creek Valley started changing exactly the way John Hendricks said it would. His home now had a new name. It was called Oak Ridge.
He told where the railroad was going to be. He said it's going to come right through Walter Garson's garden, and it did. It went exactly where he said.
People started thinking about old John's prophecies then. Even his wife was convinced.
When she started believing in him, it was when they took our home over, you know, and started the city, you know. That's when she began to believe.
The coming of Oak Ridge wasn't John Hendricks' only prediction. He foresaw people being transported through the air long before airplanes were invented. I am going to be with the angels was his last prophecy, spoken minutes before he died in 1915. But just beyond this ridge, his vision lives on.
A broken twig speaks to you if you're a tracker who has observed the signs of nature all his life. We'll meet him next when Heartland Tonight returns. Our friend Herb Clabo says there's lots of conversation on the ground if you just know how to carry it on. For some, the woods speak volumes.
It's a function of the senses, after a time, an instinct. But there's only a few who can still read the signs of the forest and practice the lost art of tracking.
My uncle and my grandpa, they was two old-timers. They loved the mountains. They were good trackers. They learned me how to track.
And it was in the Great Smoky Mountains where J.R. Buchanan uncovered this Indian art of necessity. Today, the laws of nature are used to enforce the laws of society. For signs, even when pointed out, aren't easy for us to see after years of city living.
The bars will pull with you as you come through, straight on through. Send way on out there, and then use the bar to slide to the right. So this sure has been stepped on, mowed. It came right through here.
I see that. It is an art of feeling and sensing, of understanding the order of the forest and what lies therein. Have you ever seen a panther track?
Yeah, I've seen the tracks and also the panthers. It's kind of a gray yellowish color. It's just a regular old mountain line is what they are.
How about coyotes? There are coyotes around there.
We have a lot of coyotes in Cage Cove. At least 3 packs we know of in the cove, and they run in packs from 20 to 30 in a pack.
Have you ever seen a wampus in these mountains?
If there's any in the Smokies, they cannot be seen, or I would have seen them.
You got 8 toes.
This is a mink coming downstream. This is the wood rat. He's going toward the stream. This is a mink here going upstream, which is not the same mink.
How fresh you think those are?
These were made last night.
You sound pretty sure.
I am.
But with all the confidence and experience that a lifetime of tracking has given J.R., he's been haunted for almost 20 years by a case that was never solved.
The little boy, the name of Dennis Martin, he was lost in the Smokies, and Spence Fields is where the boy was supposed to have got lost at. I spent 3 months from daylight till dark, sometimes after dark, getting out of there. Found nothing. We don't have any idea what happened to him.
Few of us realize the contradictions of nature's gentleness and cruelty more than J.R. Buchanan. He knows that familiar trails are never the same, changing as constantly as the daylight and the seasons. And for J.R., his paths never end, but continue to give him a sense of purpose.
Tracking is something that I love to do. I loved it the first time I done it. I still love it just as much now as I did then. And it's something I know that I can do, that I can help people, that I also can save people's lives at it.
Tracking of a different nature has uncovered signs of success. A bird that seems to have emerged from the mists of time now is a common sight in the Tennessee Valley. But once its future was in doubt.
It is a living link with prehistory. Its call echoes through the centuries. And then we see one, and we stand very still. The great blue heron is making a comeback throughout the Tennessee Valley, but nowhere more than here on Gunnersville Lake in northern Alabama. This is their world. TVA wildlife biologist Berlene Pullen has spent the last 11 years studying this magnificent bird in the Tennessee Valley.
Notice one bird depart, and although that one's alone, occasionally another one will follow. They cue on each other to find selective feeding sites. There are many more now than there were, say, 10 years ago.
Like the bald eagle, the great blue heron was devastated by man's use of DDT.
Physiologically, it made the eggshells thinner, and when the birds sat on the eggs, they cracked during incubation and didn't hatch.
Great blues are having no trouble hatching now. Their numbers here have increased fourfold in 10 years. In fact, with over 700 nests, this colony is one of the most productive in North America.
As you can see here, most of the great blues select an area that's isolated from human activity. They select the tallest trees on the highest elevation of ground near wetland habitats because it gives them a visual advantage. They can see potential threats approaching the nesting colony.
They nest closely together for safety. Concealed in a blind 90 feet above the ground, we can see what the future holds for the great blue.
Right now, the nestlings are approximately a week to 2 weeks of age. They are shallow water feeders, wading birds specifically. They have to swallow their food whole. They do not rip or tear flesh. They have to swallow whatever they catch whole.
Because they feed on things that feed on other things that feed on still other things. The great blue that looks and sounds as if it belongs in our primordial past can tell us a great deal about the future health of our environment.
I think it's told us within the last decade that certain conditions are improving. The great blue heron is an excellent biological indicator. We know that if they decline, then something's wrong in the environment, and we need to find out what it is.
A message finds its mark along roadsides and even in the dark of night. The legacy of Harrison Mays when Heartland Tonight returns. Heartfelt belief translated into messages for the world to see. That's the lasting work of a Kentucky man, Harrison Mays.
This is Harrison's idea, and we kind of expanded on Harrison's idea after he got to the point he couldn't take care of it. I think it's unique. I don't think you'll find many in the country like this one.
The legacy of Harrison Mays overlooks the town of Middlesboro, Kentucky, a bright testament to his commitment.
His more familiar signs still dot the landscape on roads that were once main roads. Versions of the cross with a pointed message. The result of prayers and a promise uttered in a mining accident when he was 18.
The doctor said he wouldn't live till the morning. And they put him in a room and said he won't be here in the morning. But the next morning he was sitting up in bed, and he fully recovered.
Unlike most who make a promise in a crisis, Harrison sets out to keep his word. After a few false starts preaching and singing, a natural talent takes hold.
He painted a sign that said, "Sin not," on an old hog in the camp here way back.
This sets his course. That course soon takes him on the road and a wider reach for his simple message. In 2 trips a year, Harrison's quest takes him across the country with a truckload of signs.
We just stop and put them up. He'd pick them apart and put it in, dig a hole and put it in and take off. He just planted it and moved on. About 20 different models, concrete, aluminum, wooden, anything you can make a sign out of, he tried it. He did more with nothing to do with than any man I know. He worked 2 shifts in mine. And one shift was his and one for the sign work. As a means to finance it first. He said the Lord called him to do it. He got no encouragement from nobody else.
When the mines close, he takes full-time commercial sign work, but Harrison always makes time for his special signs.
He was an advertiser for God.
Harrison doesn't live to see his work in collections ranging from the Museum of Appalachia to the Smithsonian. Harrison would probably shy away from characterizations of his work as folk art, but he would welcome the opportunity for thousands more to see the message.
He surrounds himself with his work, from his cross-shaped home with homemade concrete blocks with sentinel crosses at the gate, to bottles with messages in 14 languages, to the bicycle he rides. His vision for his signs knows no limits.
They thought he was a lunatic at that time. A lot of people thought he was, but he did what he believed in. Nobody stirred him another direction.
As his signs disappear into the landscape, others take care of his legacy.
I'm trying to put up what was left of him after he died.
This unusual mixture of roadside art and heartfelt message survives.
He said if they were up for one day, there's so many thousand people seen it and it done its job.
He was an ordinary man with an extraordinary devotion. Dedication to a cause is a familiar characteristic of people around here. We'll tell you more about them in days to come. Thanks for watching Heartland Tonight.